my name is Aksik, aka Annika. Welcome to my channel. Very happy to see you here. And this is going to be again one of those videos that you better get a drink and sit yourself down, or maybe take a break in between, because it's going to be a while. Many people have asked about water-based markers directly on in coloring books and washing them out with a water brush. You know, which books allow that. And this video, I did a lot of testing in my own stash. And if anybody else also knows of books that I don't have or I don't know about, please leave it in the comments. I want this video to be this kind of a bit of a database for these books. And I'm going to show you the books and tell you the caveats. You know, not all of them, in some of them you can totally and easily just wash out the pencils. In some of them you have to do it in a slightly different method, but it's still possible. But basically those are going to be now the books. You can put the water-based marker down directly onto the paper and wash it out with water brush or regular brush. It doesn't have to be water brush. There's no rule. But you know, as I said, once again, you know, it works slightly different in different books, and I will explain and show you how exactly. Now, first thing, it was just top of the pile. Those are Hanna Karlzon books that are published by the original Swedish publisher. The Swedish publisher is, I think, called Förlag. Förlag. Here. It's at the back here as well. Förlag. Yeah. And those books you can pretty much get when the original book comes out. There's two main websites you can get those books. It's from Bokus and also I think it's iMusic or something like this. I will put the links in the description box. Basically, they publish both Maria Trolle and Hanna Karlzon books, and you can do quite a lot on this paper. This paper, although it feels thin, like it feels thinner than most paper. It feels thinner than the the one that is the UK publisher. I don't remember again who is the UK publisher for Hanna Karlzon books, but you know, the books actually look thicker and kind of more substantial in these publishings. This looks fairly thin, but has a good sizing, and therefore is very much suitable for doing many things that are not possibility in other books. I tested out here. I'm going to show you on camera as well how I was doing it, so you know, I'm not just lying to you. This is done now directly, marker on the paper, water brush, straight on. Trick with that paper is it's not, I can also show you other side, and on this paper nothing came through, and I put a fair bit of water now on it. So how I'm doing it in here is that I am putting it down, well, in this area I don't really want to wash it out, I want it full strength there and here, and now here I want to wash it out, so I put it down and I grab the water brush quickly and I give it a good dabbing. Don't rub, more kind of a dab, and then bring it down. And I'm also going to just go over to the areas there, kind of even them out just in case, although you know, it's not strictly necessary. And once again, I'm going to put that in between these areas, totally plain. And oh, and I forgot to tell you, I'm using for every book the same markers now, just you know, to make sure that you know, it's not dependent on the water-based markers I'm using. I took out my Staedtler, it's the Staedtler 36 watercolor brush pen set. I can put that in the description box for you as well. And you can see how I'm being a bit sloppy now. Always more sloppy in front of the camera, it seems, especially if you're trying to work fast. It's, you know, a bit untidy what I'm doing here, but never mind. You know, you can see the principle. And I can put here a little bit, just kind of in all the corners or close to her, I'm putting a little bit of a color down and I'm washing it out. Now this, as I said once again, this goes for the books that are actually by the Swedish publisher. So the original publications of Hanna Karlzon and Maria Trolle books. So I'll show you other books as well, you know, that the ones I have. I'm not pulling out all my Hanna Karlzon books from that publisher, because I tend to buy those books all directly, kind of from the source the moment they are published, if I buy them at all. And because I like this paper a lot, it is really good for water. So this recommended. Same story goes for, you know, once again, it's slightly different format, but it's still the same kind of a beautiful Swedish publication or publisher's paper. So is that the same publisher? Yeah, it's Tukan Förlag again. This is the publisher, and showing you here, this was done with water-based markers, just washed out. I'm not going to start doing that in front of the camera as well. You know, it's exactly the same, works exactly the same. Just, well, okay, I'm going to do a couple of petals. So this is once again the paper, the brush marker from Staedtler. And there's no rhyme or reason why I grabbed these. They just pretty much came from the box. I put my hand in the box and they came out first. So this is how it works. Just a little dab down. And the faster you work on this paper now, if you let the ink to sit, then it won't work like this anymore. So you need to work fresh. You put it down, smaller area as possible, and you wash it out. And you can get kind of a quick base like this with some shading already in place. So this is how this paper works. Now, the next one is this. It's Lulu Mayo's, Lulu Mayo, compilation book, which has several of her kind of selection of images from several of her books. It's thick, like you can see, and it has a really nice paper. And also I like that it's stitch bound. And the same story now with this one, you kind of have to know how to work, because if you just put the marker down and try to wash it out, it's not going to work for you. Or, you know, if you, I tried here to put just pure marker base down, just purely, you know, just scribbled it all full and thought if I just go over with a water brush, will it even it out? Yes, it will, but you have to be willing to sacrifice the page behind it, because it does come through. But there is a way to work in this book, and this is not the only book that you can work like this, but I'm going to grab, oh, okay, this is now typical. Okay, let's take this kind of a grayish. So we want to give Panda a shadow on the face, let's say. So instead of putting the marker direct on the paper immediately, because this paper is not afraid of water, but it doesn't have a huge amount of sizing, but it takes water pretty well. So I'm putting it, I'm wetting the area, and only the area I'm now working. I'm not letting the water to go much elsewhere. I'm taking the marker here, and I'm putting down the lines where I want them, kind of a shadow areas. and the paper has to be pretty wet. And now I am taking the brush again, and I'm giving it a little bit of an extra wash like this, and see, you have the shadow on the face. It's the wetness that is kind of, and you can work like this directly on the paper. You just put water on first, and then you put on marker, and then you put on water again. And as you can see, you know, this is where the face is, and it does not go through that way. If you put loads of pigment down and try to kind of wash it out and even it out, which is basically, you know, I took a really dark marker. I took, which one was it? Possibly this one, like really, really dark one. And just, you know, put it all over it with all the, you know, if you put water-based marker like that on any paper, the kind of biggish area like this, you get some streaks. And then I put water on top, and it did get rid of the streaks. But yes, it did go through. So you have to be kind of willing to sacrifice the page if you want to work like this. But if you just want a little bit of shading here or there, or kind of, you know, put more gentle washes down, then you can totally do that with water-based markers, just by putting water on first. Okay, so that's it. This one, Fairy Tales and Folklore by Emily Lidehall Öberg. We all know that book, well, most of us do, and if you don't, there's so many reasons to love that book, but the great paper is probably one of the biggest reasons for me. And it genuinely does have fantastic paper. And on this one, you can pretty much do it with the conventional way. Let's grab, I don't even know which marker I used here, but you know, let's just put it down here. Once again, I need to have my, make sure that it's clean, and needs to be well activated as well. So I'm going to put, yeah, that's not the correct color, but who doesn't really matter. So you start from the outside and come in, and you get this lovely subtle blend like this. It literally dissolves beautifully on this paper, and it does not go through. So if you want to work with that kind of markers direct on the paper and dissolving the classic way, and not worry about anything at all, this is your book. I'm going to lift it to you. You can of course do it, you know, in a more controlled way and slower, and you know, kind of more planned and put the shapes down. I just showed you that yes, it does dissolve, and you can see from the other flower here as well that I've tried the same method, and yes, it does work. So absolutely, definitely remember this book. Now I have a couple of Maria Trolles here that, you know, I wanted to show. This is, now you can see from here, I did this little tree here with water-based markers. Let me get the ones again. I probably put too much dark in there. I will not do that again. Let's take another tree, one of these, or maybe all of these. So I'm just putting a little bit of texture here on this tree in the darkest spots. And once again, all the markers are from the same set. I'm not changing anything. There's no advantage or difference. And I'm putting kind of well, it's not mid-tone, but yeah, mid-tone a bit down here as well. Just more texture, bringing it more in. So creating this kind of a dot shading almost. And I'm taking the lightest one I have here, and I'm kind of dabbing it. I'm not rubbing it. Dabbing is better because then I don't damage the surface. So I'm dabbing it in because I'm not trying to blend it out, although in this paper technically you can just blend it out with markers as well. And then I'm grabbing my making sure that it's clean, grabbing my water brush, and I'm just going over it gently, and everything dissolves. I'm trying not to kind of rub too much, to kind of try and leave some of that texture in there. So this is what you're gonna get. And then you need to, it's actually better to put a little bit less dark in and, you know, more light, because as it dries, it kind of evens out and self-blends a bit more. So this is a really nice way of doing quickly trees and texture and ground, for example. And totally you can do it directly on the paper. Same story in this book, which is Falling Star. Okay, I didn't even tell you what book this one was. It's once again it's the fairy tales, and the publisher is the same Swedish publisher. What is the publisher name here? Furlak. I can't even see, but is it the same as Maria? As Hanna Karlzon? Am I right or am I wrong? I'm not really. It does say Furlag, and you know, Hanna Karlzon books have that Furlag on them as well. So I suspect it might be the same one. So I suspect it is, but you know, it might also be bookmark. You're not sure, but once again, it's a Swedish publication, and water works really good. And same story goes for this one, which is also by the same publisher. I think it might be bookmark actually. And it's Swedish edition of Maria Trolle, Falling Star. And same way you can get away with blending directly on the paper. Always keep in mind though that you know, try out on the pages, you know, some markers can be a bit different or more capricious, you know, choose a page at the back or someplace that, you know, you don't care much about and test it out there. Also, if you want to be careful, use more kind of mid-tones, especially if you don't want to do the full page with just water-based markers. You use it as a base for pencils, then kind of use more mid-tones and kind of pastel tones for blending, which A, blend out easier with water, and B, there's a less chance of them going through the paper. Okay, another book. This is my new baby. And I have a flip through for that one soon on my channel, hopefully, or maybe I already had. I don't really know when I'm going to publish it, you know, but what order the publishing is going to happen, because things are all over the place. But this paper also just allows you to do the direct blending. It is Battersea, all about the dog. It's all about dog breeds. Fantastic paper, fantastic art. If you don't have that book yet, that if you're a dog lover, what are you waiting for? It is amazing. And it's published by Battersea Dogs and Cats Home, and all the proceeds from that book are going to support homeless animals. And let's see, let's grab the same. Okay, it's just a little bit of green. Not being particularly neat here. Too much to ask from me in front of camera. And it washes out really nicely. Especially if you do it, you know, if you put texture down and kind of soften the texture with water brush, or if you are just doing it in smaller areas. It always is more complicated in big areas, because you know you will get a lot of texture and you need to put down a lot of water to kind of wash things out. But you would usually work in fairly small areas anyway if you do that style of a blending out. It's not really a background option, you know. You wouldn't do probably the full sky with it. You could, but it can be a bit tricky. But if you wanted to, let's say, to put a little bit of, okay, I'm gonna show you, not like a bit of a fake sky behind the dog. So let me see. Okay, and I'm going to wash it all out. And you know, if you keep washing it out like this in slightly uneven brush strokes, you get this nice kind of a haze around the object, which pretty much works like a background. And you can let it dry and put something else on and do color variations and put different things down. So yeah, you know, totally you can do a lot on this paper. And of course, it's a fantastic book to start with. So, comes recommended, AX6 certified. Not that I have any authority to certify anything. Okay, this one is also a new one that I mean to do a flip through. I haven't done it yet, but I want to do it. It's by Art Therapy. I think it's Hashet. Yeah, Hashet Heroes publication. And Hashet Heroes is usually not my favorite paper, but it can be worked, especially considering that, you know, we don't care if it goes through. Because it will, although less than you would think, considering, you know, how heavily I was working here. Like, I put down really dark stuff. And the way I did it, let's grab this really, really dark, kind of a purplish, marker. Okay. And let's find an area I can work with it. The way I did it. Okay, so I put it down, the dark. And no, you can't just wash it out easily directly. It does dissolve though. You can see it now. You know, it does pick up. In some of the papers, it just sinks right in and you can't move it at all. So what I do here is, once the paper is wet, I kind of dab it in a little bit extra, and then I move that further. So you kind of, can you see what I'm doing? So I'm putting the direct marker down first. I'm washing that out with pretty kind of generous water. And I'm trying not to rub the paper much. I'm trying more dab, okay? Because if I rub, I'm going to get pilling. This paper is not that kind of enamored with water. But even with, you know, I didn't even need to put extra down there. But in sometimes, you know, if you get the rough edge and you can't get rid of it, then you put in some extra marker on the border between the water and the marker. And okay, and then you wash it out again and everything is going to be fine. So you can use water-based marker direct on the paper in this book. And surprisingly, even though you wouldn't care if it goes through here, because it's not a double-sided book, it does, but not not as much as you'd expect. You get little dots where you really, you know, pour the water down. But it doesn't really matter to me at all, because, as I said, this is one-sided book. Those images, you know, if anything goes through, I don't really care much about that at all. So you can use that method in the Hashet Heroes books, but yeah, you need to kind of be mindful that it's not one of these papers that just, you know, has so much sizing that you can move pigment freely on top, like some of the other ones there, where you kind of have to work it a bit more, but you can still do it. Your regular Amazon UK paper. Hear me out. Hear me out. I know. I keep saying that, you know, this paper is horrible, and yeah, it is. I'm not taking it back. Why did I lose it now? Okay, here you go. It's not great paper, and it's not easy paper to work with, but you can do stuff. So how to work water-based markers directly on the paper and water brush? Well, the good old thing, first thing is that you put down where you want the shadows or dark areas to be. So I'm putting them in the edges here. I'm being gentle with the paper. I'm not rubbing it. I'm just putting the lines down fairly gently. And I'm even giving an extra line here at the top as well. So now you see, this is what I did, basically where the shadows go. Okay. And now I'm taking the water brush, and you know, it has to be not flooding, but it has to be pretty decently wet. And I start dabbing. I do not rub at all. I just dab the water on. And the effect now depends on, you know, how big the effect is. Depends on how much marker I put down and how much water I put down. But you can see now already everything dissolved. The danger with that is that don't go super close to the edges with water. Kind of leave about millimeter or so from the line art at least, so the water spreads in there. Otherwise you can get bad bleeds. But it didn't even kind of, yeah, it gave paper a kind of a slight buckle, but you know, I don't know, you can't see it with the other leaf here that was done an hour ago or so, but the paper is totally dry and there's barely any kind of a buckle or damage. If you do it gently like this, you can absolutely wash out or kind of blend out water-based markers gently on the Amazon UK. I don't know about US paper, but my experience, there's not much difference between them. UK paper is slightly, and I mean slightly better, I think. A little bit sturdier, but not much. So, you know, if you do it super gently and make sure that you don't go too close to the actual line art, and maybe use the images, you know, use it only on the images which have fairly thick line art like this to start with, then yeah, you can work water-based markers on these books, and you get this nice space where kind of shadows are already down. So yeah, once again, try it out. Next one. This is Kerby Rosanes books that are published by Marabu. Marabu. These are basically French, French published Kerby Rosanes books, and all Kerby Rosanes books in France, from what I know, are published by Marabu. And you can do this, but not the, right, with the method, not marker first, but water first. If you do the water first, you can get really cool effects. So, okay, which marker did I use? One forgets. if one is elderly like myself. So you can see I put the water down, and now I'm putting down the marker, and I'm creating kind of lines where I want something. Maybe I want some shadow at the bottom there, and then I'm going to go over it with the brush again to soften any harshness that might be there, and I'm moving on to the next leaf. So I'm giving it nice coating of water. This paper takes water very well. You can put rough layers of watercolor on this paper. So you can do the same with water-based markers, although it doesn't let you to blend out direct marker on its own, but it totally lets you to do this. And when you're putting the marker down, no rub, gentle touch, okay? And as it now dries, it will keep blending, kind of self-blending. You can see how interesting effects you can get. This tree, I don't think needs much of a pencil, maybe a little bit here in the corners, you know, some darkening. But I think it looks cool as is. And this is how fantastic. And of course you can also, you know, not just use one color, you know, you can add a little bit of a color variations into it as well while it's wet, and then it kind of all blends out together, and you can get even cooler results. And nothing, absolutely nothing, not even ghosting. So if you like Kirby, if you like coloring Kirby, and if you love water-based markers and the ease of them, and love experimenting like this, and if you also love watercolor, then if you can get your hands on French published Kirby book by Marabu specifically, especially now the older ones, because I don't know if the newer ones are as good, but I can't really see a reason why they wouldn't. Then, you know, if I buy a Kirby book, you know, because of the watercolor ease, yeah, I would definitely go again for this fantastic paper. So Marabu. And another Kirby Rosanes books by the Polish publisher. And this is kind of even better, but not. Okay, because you can actually do the direct blending in this one. Okay, let's take a random object here. Let's take this cat thing and make it... Okay, we'll put down some yellow. Some yellow. Okay, and tips of the ears as well, top of the head. And I'm going to put down some of this as well, which is kind of like a darker ochreish color. Just putting it down into random spots to give some extra color variations. And now I'm taking the water brush, making sure that the water brush is clean. So squeezing out paper, making sure that it's clean. Oh, this is a sponge, but it kind of really, it's super absorbent, but it dries, when it dries out, it becomes pretty much solid. It's like knock knock. But you can, you know, if you put it on the water, it becomes soft again, and then you can squeeze, you know, kind of wash it out. And here you don't even have to work right away, because as you saw, I was chatting away here. And you just wash everything out direct on the paper, pretty much the whole thing. But I'm going to show you the problem in a second. Okay, so the result, okay, I'm going to see, this is what I do. I just clean the water into it. You know, the result is fine. You can pretty much put most of the shading down and then wash it out. And I didn't really do a huge inner job, but if you do it that way, it will go through. So, you know, it has the sizing, and if you are willing to sacrifice the image behind, yes, you can do that. For example, I kind of like this, never been fond of that image, so I would happily do it here because I don't care what happens to this image. But if, you know, the image is on both sides something you want to preserve and work with, then I wouldn't use that. Watercolor behaves better on this paper, okay? It doesn't go through like the same way or as badly as this, so you can use watercolor sensibly, but these water-based markers, if you put water on them, they will go through. Dreams of Dragons, the book I have not worked in really by Reuben Thielen. Basically anything, I think it's the Blue Angel, is it Blue Angel? Yeah, it's the Blue Angel Publishing. I only have, I think, this book by them, and all, from what I understand, the paper behaves the same for all of them. So it doesn't matter, you know, if it's a dragonkin. There's quite a lot of popular books that are published by Blue Angel. I think Christine Caron's new books are published by Blue Angel as well. So, you know, there's several authors whose books are published by them. And yes, here you can do it direct on the paper. Just taking, okay, let's take this turquoise again, page, and okay, what part? I don't have to do the whole thing. I would like to do something that either I'm not that particularly bothered about. Okay, let's do those scales here. And I need to have good amount of water, and this is how it just washes out. And once again, you know, you can add different colors in there. It doesn't have to be just one color you put down. You can put down several at the same time, and it'll be fine. So this is how well it washes out. And you don't have to be super precise or anything how you put it down. You just guide it with the brush afterwards, you know, where you want the main color to go and which area you want to leave either very light or absolutely white. You know, here I'm leaving the tops white. So I did now the full image, no, the full row here. So, you know, if you want to change something, and if you wanted to maybe add something extra to it, you can, you know, you can just drop some yellow into it at the tops here, grab the water brush, oops, and blend some yellow highlights at the top. And once again, you know, I keep forgetting sometimes myself, but, you know, don't do what I just did. Don't rub, dab. More dab than rub, because if you rub, you will get pilling even on very good paper, you know, if you go over it enough times. So just avoid that. And as you can see, absolutely nothing has gone through. So this is how nice this paper is, and you know, you can do pretty much the whole pages here with water-based markers. which I need to get to because I love those dragons. I buy all the dragon books and then I kind of do the my precious thing, and I like look at them and pet them, and then I don't color them because, you know, I can never be equal to those images. Here is a book called Dragonology. It's that's, oh, I know the author. Why can't I think about the artist name again? Is it Ernest Drake? Possibly? Or who is the author? Can't, you know, Douglas Carroll and Helen Ward. Okay, and this is full of fantastic and really humorous art, so I love it, of course. And you can do dissolving the marker direct on the paper. I'm just, you know, I have this pile next to me, and it's becoming more and more unruly as I go. Oh, wrong tip. So you put a bit of color down, grab your water brush or regular brush with a bit of water on it, and you just blend it out. Just drop there and here. And if you feel that, okay, this isn't dark enough, which I do feel, because I felt that it could use a bit more, I will add darkness. I could do with the dark right away, but often it works better if you add the dark into already wet, kind of like this. And you can see it absolutely washes out. Once again, you know, if you're working like this, you are better off working in small areas and dissolve right away. It's not as permissive as some of the papers or some Japanese books that you can just leave it for days and then go and wash it out anyway. Wouldn't recommend it here. I would work pretty fast, but you can do it. There you go. Amazon Japan printed books. This is where I usually, you know, if I get Amazon printed books at all, I tend to get them from Amazon Japan, which means I don't get them too often because, you know, obviously you don't order from Amazon Japan weekly. It'll be a bit of a disaster financially. Excuse me, my throat is very, very dry today. But the paper is way more permissive as far as the any water media or any markers, really, because I like regular kind of alcohol markers here better than I do like them on other Amazon books as well. And here I can show you, I did this stump and I just put 2 colors down and then washed it all out. Okay, so let's, what color will we do this bit? One is losing. Okay, I'm trying to take, I want something darker first. Everything is becoming a haphazard pile here on the desk. You can actually, on this paper, I have noticed, even kind of do the blend out the water-based markers with themselves type of a situation. But I often do prefer some pencil work, so how I use mostly my water-based markers, or like use them, is that, you know, they form a base. But I'm essentially putting down here shadows, and I want, you know, he's sitting here, his cape is covering it, so it's going to be pretty dark here. Okay, and I'm going to put some lighter color down as well. These two are pretty close, but you know, some variety of color. help it along. And as you can see, you know, how much sturdier this paper is. If I was that aggressive with water-based marker in my UK books, it would be already, you know, forming holes. And get my water brush going. Okay, and I'm now pretty bold. I'm not holding back. Sometimes I make sure that, you know, my water brush isn't overly wet, you know, so it wouldn't flood. Here you can see I'm just putting plenty of paper, kind of a water down, and I'm just washing it out. And there you go. Absolutely acceptable, you know, even if you didn't want to kind of do much pencil blending, that could be an acceptable shading already. Once it dries, it'll keep kind of spreading and self-blending further, so the transitions will be slightly softer than they are at the moment. But I would work on this with pencils anyway. For me, this is a pencil base, but because I like the kind of a super, you know, I like my images fairly highly contrasted, whereas not everybody does, and you don't have to be. This could be totally acceptable on its own. You know, I just like mine a bit higher contrast than this, you know, like that. Oh, I love the green ivy. I think it came out really fun. And I love that, you know, she is voluptuous and bold and self-assured, and it's nice to see an image like this. For us fluffy ladies. Now, Mythographic. I have heard again and again people saying that it can't be done, and maybe there's differences between US and UK published mythographics, although I don't really think there are, because they seem to be all published now in China. To me, the main thing is, if the book is published in China, look at the back here, okay? If it's published or printed, not published, printed in China, here, this bit. The newer books are printed in China. Then you should be able to do water-based marker blending direct on the paper here as well. I wouldn't do very dark colors, but if you just take kind of a, you know, kind of mid-tones or light colors, you can blend them out. I'll show you. Okay, let's take this. I already used that one on one of the color lilies, so I might as well put it in here as well. So you just put it down on both sides. Oops. And I didn't wash my brush. Okay, well, this is what happens, people, if you don't wash your brush. But even then, even the ones that are published in China, funnily enough, some of them seem to have paper that accepts water better than others. So you can't really take that for absolute granted. So, but yes, you can wash it out. But you can also kind of add, you know, if you put the water down, and now I wish you could see or feel how gentle I am. Like if I just wet the area, let's say I wet this crystal here, and all I put down is water, but I make sure that I stay within this area. Just a bit of water. And then I'm going to drop in some marker, but I'm literally just dropping it in. I'm not rubbing, I'm not giving it, I'm tapping gently the marker against the paper, or if I make a line, I kind of drag it, almost not touching. It's like touching, think about touching a butterfly's wing, so you wouldn't hurt it or get the dust, the pigment onto your fingers. Think the very, very gentle touch you have to put down. This is how gentle I am here. And then I'm going to go over it slightly, gently with water again. And here we are. This is what you get, and this is acceptable kind of a base. Or you could already put kind of a, you know, white lines and a bit of texture into it and consider it done, but I would like to put, you know, some pencil on top of it as well. But, you know, you can do it on this one. And this is printed in China. Now the one I have here, Mythographic, while it's summer, is I can just put, let me grab that, this color, kind of a like lettuce green, and I'm putting it down here and here and here and here and here and here and here, and I'm making sure that my brush is clean now, and I'm just washing it out like this, and it absolutely dissolves perfectly. No issues, no workovers, not having to put down water and gonna work it over. So it kind of seems to depend on sometimes issue, maybe, you know, some reprints are done on better paper than others. There's, you know, so many possibilities, or, you know, but even then, even if it's still, if it's printed in China, most likely option is that you are going to be able to do some sort of a water blending on it, because by default these books take water way better than those mythographic books take the water way better than the ones published previously. Previously they were published in Canada, and you couldn't really do much water stuff there at all. You could a little bit. You could put kind of pure watercolor down and pretty much thick layer, but nothing, you know, more elaborate and kind of blending on the paper like this. So you can see this one blended to absolutely, you know, seamlessly to nothing. So even between mythographic editions, you know, and different even new books, you will have that kind of a, you need to just check and test your book. But there is a possibility that you can, as you just saw, blend out on the paper. Oh, and I forgot to show you how it, you know, does it go through or not? Although, does it really matter? It's a one-sided book, you know. If it goes through, it goes through, but not really. A little bit, I think, not really. So, Bloom by Ali Koch. It's a beautiful book. I like that book a lot. It has a lovely paper and beautiful kind of a funky modern style art, floral. They're all florals here, and I kind of suggest and kind of recommend that book anyway. I think it's a lovely book, but you can do the on paper blending here too. Let me see which, okay, I'm taking that one. Do I have, okay. And yes, it blends out. You start on the top. You can do that. It is not perfect, and it definitely will go through, and you need to do a bit of a dabbing. You know, you need to go over the kind of a darker area, dab like this, and then kind of bring the color into the lighter area gently. And if you are worried about those dots, they're kind of the water dots sometimes, papers get them. And in some cases, those are kind of permanent, once they're there, they're there. In this case, dab, 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 once again, and then bring it gently forward. Here again, dab over whole color area, and then bring the color gently to the sides. And you can do it as dark or as light as you prefer. So one of the methods you could work here. But oh yeah, I started talking about the water dots. I'll show you what I mean by the water dots. They're not the strongest. Some books get them really badly, but you can kind of see here, get this kind of a light, kind of a grayish dotting in some areas there. This is because of, how the paper is reacting to water. But in this case, once it dries, they disappear. So no worries. Goddess coloring, or pretty much anything by this publisher, Lom Art, you are able absolutely to dissolve your water-based markers. Yeah, so I just put a bit of water-based marker down, and here you're better off kind of starting from the light area and come into the dark, because it spreads so well that, if you drag it out, the whole thing becomes pretty much the same color. So, kind of work gently so you actually retain the dark area. This is what I mean. You start blending out like this. You wet the edges, and then you kind of go into the dark area, dab the edges, and you get that darkness there. And here you are, blends out, no problem. Of course, it goes through, but it's a one-sided book, so who really cares? As long as you let it, dry out properly, and then once it's dry, you can go on top with pencils, and everything works fine. Anything from Stratton, Anna Yaren books are all published on this paper, or by this publisher, Lomart. And also Stratton Peterson books. Was it Stratton Peterson? Yeah. Her kind of English versions of her books are also published by this publisher, same paper. So you can do everything same as that I did in this goddess book. You can do that in these books too. Okay, and this is Stratton Peterson book. Oops, things are fallen just for no reason. And this is by Marabu now. Marabu paper, which I love dearly. It's not the same exactly as Kerby paper, but it's still much thicker than the one, by Lomart. But it doesn't blend out the same way. It doesn't blend out directly on the paper exactly the same way, but you can do the same old, okay, grab this one. Yeah, this marker here, that one. And I'm taking this flower here, and I'm just taking a petal and giving it a good coating of water. So, and because the paper is so thick, it actually kind of, it won't fall apart. You can't really blend on this paper hugely well with watercolors, but because it's so sturdy, you can do these effects on the wet paper. So you pretty much put the marker onto wet paper, and then you can do a little bit extra with water brush, and you get these kind of a softer blends, and then you can use them as pencil bases. If you put pencil direct, marker direct on the paper here, the result isn't amazing. You can't really. You can somewhat with real brush pens, a little bit better. And of course, you know, it will go through, but it doesn't really matter, does it? It's a one-sided book. So yeah, you can do it that way if you just put water down. This one is done with just, you know, when I was testing out the books, I did it, this flower, now about an hour ago, and just, you know, wet the petals one by one, and then applied the water-based marker, and then put a little bit extra kind of water on them to help them to blend out. And it's ready to accept pencils, and you need very little pencil there to get a really nice effect. And yeah, of course it goes through, but you know, does it matter? No. Then another Anna Yarn book, just, you know, to prove that yes, all the Lomart paper is the same essentially. You can just grab, okay, let's do this and wash it all out. And there you go. And it does get tiny bit, or can get tiny bit of dotting there, which will disappear once it's dry. So water-based marker totally dissolves on this paper, although it's not as controllable. Sometimes it's more controllable, sometimes it's less. On this paper it's not super controllable, but it does blend, so you have to be kind of careful how you work. And kind of funny options. This book, which is called Color Me Dinosaurs, this is new. And if you just do it kind of conventional way that you put it on the paper, it doesn't really wash out great, but let me show you. Okay, this is now dark brown marker, and I am just putting down texture. So I'm going to do it here. There's going to be darkness here, darkness here. So I probably will speed it up. So I'm just tossing down the shadows and the texture here. Now I have put down the texture. I'm making sure that my water brush is nice and wet. And now I'm going over it with the water brush. And I'm being pretty generous. And once again, you know, there's not much point doing kind of a rubbing, because it doesn't really help to blend. It's water that blends, not rubbing. So as long as you put down plenty of water, the blending will happen anyway, or kind of, you know, the softening of the lines. I used a different marker set that I used on the previous tree, but never mind. But this is now the trunk, and you can see how it kind of starts softening and blending, and this texture is starting to display. And now if it dries, it becomes even softer. It becomes a little bit like this. Well, different color because I used the wrong color, but never mind. And then you can add a bit of pencil, you know, kind of to darken certain areas, and you have very easy kind of textured tree trunk. And this, for some reason, this specific book is slightly better. It seems to me slightly better paper than their Capybara's book. But it might be just my imagination, but this is, you know, how it feels like. So that's it. And then one more book here, Circle of Nature or any Karolina Kukikowska book. They are fantastic with actual watercolor. With water-based markers, you have to do the good old drop down. It works better with put water down and then put marker down. So let's go here. I'm putting loads of water down. I'm making sure, you know, that it's in these enough shadow areas as well. I need to have loads. So just wet the area. Making sure that it's like this. And now I'm grabbing this marker, and you can see when I tap it down how it starts kind of spreading. Can you see it? It rushes into the water and already starts doing kind of soft blends on its own. But I'm going to force it to do more. So the wetter the better. And this paper takes a lot of water, so you can go, you know, very wet here. Okay, and now I'm grabbing the water brush again, and I'm now picking up the pigment here. And I'm kind of softening it and bringing it into that area here as well. And of course I didn't use the same marker again as that, but who cares, you know, I'm not really particularly bothered about this frame. And there you go. But yeah, you need to put it water down first here, otherwise it doesn't really work as great. Oops. Ah, this is going to be interesting. Okay. And last one that I have here on my desk, I'm sure there's more, it's just, you know, I possibly even missed something, you know, on my shelves, but these ones definitely. Any book by Eilidh Muldoon, who is a Scottish artist with a line of coloring books by the publisher Berlin Publishing, and I've been looking if that publisher has published any other coloring books that, you know, I would like the art as well, because I would buy them in a heartbeat. It's such a fantastic paper. Here we go. This is now one of those papers where there's no problem at all. Everything, just you put the color down and you blend it out seamlessly, direct from the marker. Let me show you. Let's take something even kind of a, you know, stronger color. Let's take that purple, you know, and let's put it here on underneath here. Paper is very smooth. Very marker friendly to start with. And it just washes out. Oops, I'm colored over the windowsill. Doesn't matter, I can fix it up afterwards. And here as well, I go just over this area, and it just washes out to nothing. If it's very dark, like the color I used, you might have this area, you know, that might have a slight border, but if you just tap on that border and play with it, that will also be invisible. I'm just putting a tiny bit here as well, because I want this area to be actually the lightest, but I want something underneath the roof anyway. So just, and this is how seamlessly water-based markers wash out on this paper. You can pretty much put any color down and you can wash it out. And you're not in super hurry either, although I wouldn't wait for too long. But here you see, this is what you can do. So, fantastic book for working pretty much any media. But, you know, if you want to just, you know, play with water-based markers, your best friend, and nothing goes through. Although, you know, this was aggressive, like a lot of water. You can see if you look at it, you know, how much water I put down. And you can see how dark the pigment is also, you know, because the darker the marker, the more danger there usually is of it kind of going through. And nothing went through. So, comes highly recommended. I love the art and I love the paper. So, you know, take that note. Anyways, this is all from me today. I did not realize that it was going to be over an hour. And there's not much that I will be shortening here. There's maybe 1 or 2 places where I just kind of speed up a couple of things. Other than that, I'll just, you know, show you what I'm doing and how things are happening. I hope you got some useful information from here, and I really would appreciate, you know, if you have any books that I didn't mention here. I'm sure you do, that you can do the same technique in. You put them into the comments, you know, the stuff that kind of, because just, you know, let this video to be this information spot. The people who are looking for that info can find it in both video and maybe some extra knowledge also in the comment section. So thank you very much for watching. You are fantastic audience. Hopefully we'll kind of meet again very soon on my channel. And hopefully you're having great creative time and lots of fun, and you're having a wonderful day or morning or afternoon wherever you are in the world. And once again, thank you, and bye bye.